Well, hey guys, we are back. It is day 3. Kara Snyder here, author of Anxiety Elephants for Tween Boys and Tween Girls. I hope that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel at Kara Snyder so that you are staying on top of when these videos are loaded every morning so that way you can watch them in the morning or you can watch them at night with your parents or as a family. So I do hope that you have subscribed, and I am thankful for you for subscribing. You can follow along at TikTok at Karis_Snyder. So that's CARIS_SNIDER. You can also follow along on Instagram at Karis Snyder. And then Facebook, I have a private group for parents to build that community so that you can walk through this together. So excited to be here with you guys. Maybe if you are just finding these videos through YouTube and you're wondering, hey, I want to join in on this. I'm a tween. I'm an 8 to 12-year-old. I'm just 13. I'm just 14, and I am struggling with anxiety. Well, we would love to have you here watching these videos. All you need is one of the copy of the devotionals because I'm not reading them through every day. So there's a girl one, and here is a boy one, and you can find them on any major retailer. But we would love to have you here. It's a 90-day devotional. We're just going through the first 30 days together to really kind of catapult you into the rest of the devotional as you walk through it. So I would love to hear back from you. I'd love to hear your feedback, how these small little steps are helping you. I want to encourage you today. I really feel like you need this reminder, even though we're only 3 days in. Guys, listen, you have developed these habits, these coping skills that are negative, and how you have responded to anxiety for so long. And so remember that this is a journey and this is a process, and we're not going to get it right every time. As adults, we don't get it right every time. And actually, you guys are going to be ahead of the game of a lot of adults because they haven't learned these positive coping skills that are grounded in biblical truth. But you are learning those things. And so what you're doing is you're rewiring your brain how to respond and how to think differently. And that takes time and that takes practice. And so you may find that some things are going to be revisited in this devotional for that simple reason that you have to continue to practice these things over and over again so that your brain will learn how to respond differently. So I just want you to remember that. I want you to give yourself grace. If you try something and it doesn't work, try it again. I want to go take us back to day 2 yesterday where we read our scripture to come to Jesus with all of our burdens, to talk to him, to confess, to say those things that we think, say, or do that are wrong, that are not pleasing to God. And we know that hiding and trying to figure out anxiety on our own, that is not pleasing to God because he tells us to come. He wants to help us. And so maybe you did come to him with your anxiety once yesterday, but it came right back and it made you frustrated. Well, I want you to continue to come. Continue to talk to him over and over again because that's part of that process of learning and retraining yourself. Okay, so if you needed to hear that today, that's why I wanted to jump in and go ahead and share that with you. But we are going to move on to day 3. And day 3 is a little personal for me, and maybe this is something that you can relate to. So our scripture today is 2 Corinthians 12, verses 10, and this is out of the NIV version, and this is what it says. And this is the Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul wrote 2 Corinthians. He wrote much of the New Testament. He wrote, I believe, 13 books of the New Testament. And so 1st and 2nd Corinthians were part of the books that Paul wrote. So this is Paul speaking. And he said, that is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now that feels opposite, right, of what we think. We don't like to be persecuted, made fun of, to feel weak. The world tells us that it's not good to be weak, right? The world says you need to be strong, you need to be able to do things on your own and not need help. The world doesn't tell us to delight when people insult and make fun of us. But that's what Paul is telling us here. So I got to ask you a question. Have you ever been made fun of? Have you ever been insulted, put down? Well, as you read in this devotion for today, you're going to see that I have experienced that. So I want you to know that if you have, you're not alone. And I'll never forget the first experience. I had many, but I'll never forget the first experience of a classmate making fun of me and insulting me. I was born with a disability in my left side. I speak a little bit about it, and today you're going to read a little more, but I have cerebral palsy in my left side. It affects my arm more than any other part of my body. Now, when I was born, my left foot was turned inward. So, like in like that. So instead of it being straight, it was turned towards my right foot. So when I was older, I had surgery and they turned my foot around straight so I could walk. But it affects my arm the most. And I would hold my arm up by my side. I couldn't feel it. I didn't know. And one day in first grade, a fellow classmate who actually lived in my neighborhood and played baseball with my brother gathered everyone around. And he said, "Hey, Karis, why do you look like that? You look like a bunny rabbit." And he held up both of his arms and he started hopping around me in a circle, and everybody laughed. I still remember it. I still remember his face. I still remember him holding his arms up. And I remember telling nobody. I didn't tell anybody. Are you holding on to that secret too? Maybe you've been made fun of and you haven't told anybody. That was hard. And I taught myself, unfortunately, the wrong way to deal with things early on, to hide. I taught myself that to not be made fun of again, I had to be perfect. I had to have it all together. I couldn't mess up. I couldn't make a mistake. I could only do things that I knew I would be successful at, that I would be the best at. Schoolwork, test, I put a lot of pressure on myself to not make any mistakes, not miss anything, because I didn't want to be in that place again. I didn't want to feel that hurt and that pain. And I thought it was because I thought weakness was a bad thing. I thought it was a bad thing, but I had it all wrong. We do not have to hide struggles like anxiety and pretend to have it all together. I'm going to say that to you one more time. You do not have to hide the struggle of anxiety and act like you have it all together. You can be open and honest about your imperfections with God, because here's the deal. God knows that we're imperfect. He already knows. And remember, he invites you to come. Imperfections and all. He wants you to come and share them with him. He can handle any difficult situation. Nothing is too hard for him. His strength will come shining out in your weakness. As you allow him into those places, they no longer have power over you. You get to have power over them. That's the beauty about being honest in our weaknesses. They don't have that power over us. Those elephants are not strong over us when we begin to say out loud what is really going on. So your action step today is going to be a little more difficult than the first 2 days, but I believe in you and I know that you can do this, and God is going to help you do this. Because remember, when we are weak, then he is strong. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask you the question that I asked you earlier. Has someone made fun of you? For the majority, that answer is going to be yes. So your action step today is to talk to your parents or a trusted adult about this experience and ask for their help in finding God's strength to move forward. Now, adults, this is what I want to invite you to do. If you have a story where you remember where you were made fun of, share that with your kids. Share that with your tweens. Share that with your teens. You know, a lot of times we think, oh, I can't tell them that story because it may ruin how they feel about me. When in reality, what it's going to help our kids see is that we understand. We understand what it feels like. We remember how hard it is, and we can relate to what they're going through. So adults, share those experiences with them and connect with them over that, and share that experience with God as well, so that you can move forward. So it doesn't have control over you, and you no longer have to hide and think that you have to be perfect and you have to have it all together. Not anymore. Our prayer: Dear Lord, help me to remember your strength will shine through my weakness. Thanks, guys, for joining for day 3. I'll see you tomorrow.